And we're live. This is Michael Finicaro once again on the AI Across the Product Lifecycle podcast. And here I'm live from ProveIt with ZJ of FlowFuse and with Ken of Dados.
Dados.
At Dados. So we're here at ProveIt. It's my first time here. I've been kind of blown away. What's been your favorite presentation so far, ZJ?
Obviously my own.
Of course,
But it's my
besides that.
second time here. It's great to also see the evolution of the whole thing. New location. So far, I really like Jeff Winter's keynote
was good.
yesterday. But also like the sessions, very informative, and it's great to see like where the industry is moving and how fast we are all moving in our own directions.
Thank you. And how about you?
Yeah, this is our first time here. Actually, Walker let us in 6 weeks ago. So we were going to be the last company in, and then Thread became the 51st company. This is an amazing event. I would say I've seen about 5 sessions so far. I thought inductive automation killed it.
Oh my God! It was
Yeah,
amazing.
they killed it.
Even Walker, when I was talking to him earlier,
Yeah.
he said that. So 2022, 2023, well, November 2022, the chat GPT moment.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting I said people when we're going to have the OpenAI, the chat GPT moment in manufacturing. But when it first happened, were you skeptical or were you bullish on AI at that point?
Both. So what we did saw, especially early on, is like the accuracy was fairly low, and especially longer output windows were not as accurate as you would like it to be, and you saw it clearly go after rails. You still have AI sometimes go after rails, LLMs, where they count the R's as strawberries, a very famous example, where it just doesn't quite work yet.
Right.
But, however, it is a great sparring partner now and much more reliable, especially if you keep your own brain attached and on and just
Right.
checking it. Especially shorter answers are great these days where you will have a sparring partner, and if you have a couple of questions you're not quite sure about, you get decent outputs.
Yeah.
So I was very skeptical at the beginning. I thought this is a trick.
Yeah.
But pretty quickly, it became my co-writer. So you say something and it says, you don't want to say it that way. And the back and forth, if you would iterate with it, you ended up with much better writing than I would ever do,
Yes, for sure.
much clearer, fewer repeats. And I think that, but you could see the potential. And gosh, if you put enough money into anything, I mean, we went to the moon on mainframe technology. I don't remember how much it cost, but we're spending more money on this, even inflation adjusted, than anything anybody's ever spent money on. So
Absolutely true. So at Dados, well, first of all, maybe you can talk what you guys do at Dados.
okay, so we provide a real-time intelligence layer, and the basic problem that we're trying to solve is if you're in an industrial environment and you're sending spark plug messages through a broker, you hit a barrier there that the messages are in Sparkplug, and they're hacks. And so we have a translation layer and a normalization layer that we work very hard on to make very close to instant. The output of that is arrow tables that are ready to be queried directly by the agents or your swarm of agents. And the idea is to message publish to queryable is 20 to 25 milliseconds, which leaves enough time for the agent to get its job done inside of the control timing in the PLCs.
Nice.
So it's a pretty small, very specific problem.
Very nice niche.
I'm a big data guy. My career has been building for whatever the generation was, something that would be considered very high performance.
Nice. How about FlowFuse?
Yes, so FlowFuse is the platform that you use to access the data on the edge, but also transform it across protocols, and then also a visualization layer. It's built around open source Node-RED, and in terms of AI, we can differentiate in 2 use cases where it's being applied. First is what we call the FlowFuse Experts, which helps you build Node-RED flows and get them into production and get them checked by a human and then roll them out. I think that's where the biggest steps were taken for us in terms of AI and LLM output, where initially it would just make up nodes that didn't exist and would suggest solutions that aren't possible. But now recently they've taken major steps, and in terms of development, most of the development can now be done aided by AI. So if you don't know anything about OPC UA, but you know your boss told you like, hey, convert this OPC UA to MQTT, that is something to be done. Also with Sparkplug, like it knows then, okay, I need to install this platform plugin. You install the plugin and then knows how to transform the data into the Sparkplug structure, for example. So that's the one area where we took enormous strides, and we see massive adoption as well. Just last week, we saw 2.5x adoption week over week of our customers using AI to develop flows. The second thing we offer are, if you can connect to anything and transform that data to another protocol, we can also adapt it with MCP and other AI native protocols to be AI ready, to be queried, especially with LLMs. If you look at our customer base and where they're experimenting, MCP has tools that can change things. Those we hardly see in production. Changes are still very fundamentally IT controlled and not something they want to push into an LLM. But the resources, however, we see now OPC UA being queried with LLM, but also Ethernet IP messages that are being interpreted by LLMs, and then IT as well as OT now has one layer, one queryable text layer to understand operations better.
I just talked to a company right before I came over here who needs your stuff. I'll tell you their name after we're done.
Yeah, let's chat.
Yeah.
How has AI changed the way you develop code at Dados?
Well, up until about 4 months ago, you would ask it, you were using it for research, right? So give me the syntax, do this, what function will do this? And then there was a point at which you could put your entire code base into Claude and to ChatGPT, and everything changed at that point, right? It now became a co-programmer, and the way I would put it to people, and it gives me cold chills to think about it. You can take we've always talked about 10x programmers being the standard. That guy's now a 100x programmer, and he might be a 1000x programmer as we go forward. So all of a sudden, you can communicate what you want, and it'll build 80-90% of it. You still have to pay attention and read every line and test the hell out of it and all that stuff. One of my developers recently built a completely brand new product, a uniqueness viewer, in 2 weeks using Claude, and I forget the other, and Claude and maybe Gemini, and then his own opinion, and he just checked them all against each other. And so he ended up with something, I haven't found a bug in it yet, and it is really, really fast. And as part of that process, classic graphics packages, D3, Vega, those kinds, Vega Lite, they can't go as fast as we want to go. And so he, with the AI, rewrote a charting package and that outputs on Canvas, which is fast enough. Not a whole lot of adoption to Canvas before now because it was hard to write, it's hard to debug, and the AI spit out code that worked immediately. And so life-changing.
Yeah.
Life-changing. So you still need to know what you want to do and the problem that you want to solve. But we do have a couple of 10x engineers, and they would say the same thing I'm saying.
I will say to that, like, you need to be an engineer and know your stuff
You
to
bet.
actually apply it. Like, you
Right.
can't take a 1xer now or a 0.1xer that knows kind of what software is
Right.
about and then make them a 1xer.
Right.
But it is indeed like exponential returns on what your current level is, and if you can adopt it well, it is still like a junior programmer which you need to instruct and help them out. So, for example, on my personal experience, what I see a lot is like, you need to coach it if there's reusable patterns in your code base. things. The code bases generally are too large for the full context window, so you can't ingest it all. So it will rewrite things that and the plumbing functions you already have. If you are really good at and understanding your own code base as a human, you can instruct it like, hey, I know there's plumbing to do this, find it and use it. I think those engineers like see
Yeah,
incredible results.
it's really pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah.
I just find it awesome using anti-gravity, how it automatically created its own kit, and then it was able to have all the history there. And when it screwed up, I could just say, "Well, go back 2 days ago." 3 seconds later, it was off to the races.
Yeah, and what's great about anti-gravity is that in some ways the area of problem for an LLM is confined enough that it knows already as a context, this is my playing area. Like taking a basketball player and trying like another ball sport might not yield the best results. But if you make sure that this basketball player is only playing basketball, then you're getting amazing
Yeah.
results. And
Yeah.
then as a developer, you become more like the coach, right? And you tell them where to run and when to shoot and when to go for other options.
I'm also curious too. Is AI changing some of the foundational ideas on the waterfall versus agile? You think the models of the way you organize this code, because now you've got a couple extra programmers, right? Are they going to end up those agents coming to the Scrum meeting? Uh, how's that going to evolve, or is it going to change? Are we going to? Because I think there's still a lot of people using waterfall, and they're trying to adapt it to agile. Just so
Yeah, so I don't think they'll join to the Scrum meeting and have actual input. But what you can do and probably should do is continuously maintain like the instructions that you could put in Cloud MV or otherwise, and do that with your team, right? So if you're seeing off the rails some behavior in certain changes you've made, every week as a team you can iterate like, hey, we see this happening. Let's make sure we explain the code base better to the model, for example. And that is where you see a lot of strides being made, where documentation is now being written for a model,
Yeah.
not for humans, because we want to instruct the model like, okay, first do always this and then do that, and make sure you write the test and also do the golden path test, for example. And those instructions are documented in the code base, but a human is gonna do it.
Well, you don't, in general, my personal like, I don't have to type anything anymore.
you just talk to
Well,
it.
well, once you have a base and you start saying, well, change this, try this, all this stuff, it does all the typing, the retyping. My hands feel so much better.
Yeah.
Now I've never used Agile, so and I never used Waterfall. I've always used an incremental software technique: build, have a structure, and start to fill it in. And from very early days, you want some part of it to work, and then you keep adding pieces of it until it's complete. And that's been very successful for me.
Yeah, and especially in software, right? Like continuous deployment has been a thing for a decade now.
Yeah.
We see the same with manufacturing right now, where every day is just a new iteration, and you want to keep the changes you make small so you can iterate much
Yep,
faster.
absolutely.
So waterfall has been that, I would say, for a decade.
Yeah.
Agile, where it's very process driven, is still valuable for humans, but the changes you're going to make and ship seem to be getting smaller and more frequent. So.
Well, for instance, OpenAI is now updating every day in place.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's like the Netflix model. And so you have to have some instrumentation. The guy who went to Netflix and implemented Chaos Monkeys used to be a colleague of mine. You need that kind of structure if you're gonna make changes every day, because otherwise even a small break, the thing falls apart.
Yeah, we're going to need AI ops on top of DevOps and SecDevOps.
What we do observe is like if the rate of changes improves, which it does, that you have other bottlenecks instead, right? Like you still
Yep.
want a human to review, then you do need to deploy, and like yes, most of this is automated, but the cost of doing deploys and the cost of doing the review is still there.
Right.
So there's a couple of steps we need to take. There's some AI reviews, but then AI written code reviewed by AI feels a little sketchy and not quite like now you multiply their inefficiencies, which just gives you lower accuracy. So we're not quite there yet.
Yeah,
That
you might trust it 10 years from now, but not yet.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
But right now, that seems like a long shot.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
the
think
other
that
thing people tout is like, oh, we're gonna do prompt to binary directly. That's a stretch. I don't see that.
So
there's humans are going to have to be in the loop. Walker did a rant the other day talking about, no, AI is not going to take over everything, and I agreed with his perspective. The thing that human beings bring to it is new ideas, creativity. What the LLMs have is everything that's publicly known about everything. Okay, but new things or things that haven't become public, it can't know that. And so um, the ideas that we came up, one of the reasons we went to performance here is we don't think that AIs are going to be ready to write millisecond.
real time.
Yeah, not yet, but you got to be astonished with how fast this is going.
Did you think we're getting close to the OpenAI moment in manufacturing?
Oh, we are already there. So
That ignition
well,
demo was
both
sort
that,
of
but also like if I just look at our statistics of the FlowFuse expert, how quick it is being adopted, and how much trust people assign to the expert, like rapid growth, and also the changes they make. Were first very confined, and they're getting more and more confident as well. So
Yeah.
they're willing to ask the bigger question and understand, like, hey, I can now prompt for something. I'll come back in a minute or two,
Right.
and then I have a node red flow basically ready to go. And then yes, you check the configuration, but the deployment phase is like instant. And
Somebody once said the future's already here. It's just not widely distributed.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the Faulkner say the past isn't dead. It's not even past.
That's right. That's right.
So you guys both started out somewhat skeptical, and now we're 4 years into this thing, and we passed through MCPs and now Moltbook, whatever that was. Are you as bullish or skeptical as you were some years ago?
MCP as it is right now, I think will die within the next year, and there will be an MCP2 or something along. But like MCP as a basic structure as it is now is quite immature. So if you look at manufacturing, what you just want to know is who made the decision to do what. There is no native logging or audit logging in MCP. There is a way that agents can communicate with agents already with LLMs. And now, what the deciding factor was for any decision is up in the air. So there's a bunch of problems there. Then authentication. Another thing you can do with MCP right now is say, okay, I will make this tool available for you to use, dear LLM, but before you do, always ask me to authenticate. There's no way to mandate this on a protocol level to make sure that there is always a human in the loop, for example. And with manufacturing, if you mess up a whole batch in, let's say, medicine production, that's just a very pricey accident, as well as, are you still gonna get your GXP? Is that still solid, and how are you going to make sure that the quality is there as a manufacturer long term?
He said it really well.
Okay.
Thanks.
I just lost my train
But
of thought.
something will,
Oh yes,
we'll climb the ladder.
Again, right? Like people start with implementing MCP resources because this is read only, and this is a great interface, and step by step, and with the rate of innovation, that is where MCP or other protocols will catch up and provide the tools that manufacturing specifically needs before we can at large implement this also the tooling. But like there's no current safe way to say slow line 6 down because we need less production next week, for example, and be confident that it does the right thing.
Right. Well, and that's why control engineers they want to go really slow.
I attended a presentation last year of a robotics professor from Oxford, and she was proposing. She called it instead of a like basically she was saying in robots, we're going to need a sort of black box like you have on the airplanes, right? So when the robot actually kills somebody, which someday a robot's going to kill somebody, in a factory or in a restaurant, and we've got to figure out what
Yeah.
transpired. It seems to me in manufacturing we need something like that. There's got to be some universal auditing thing
But yeah,
built in so that we can
anything
trace
anything
back
that
to the
has
root
moving
cause.
parts, robots, arms, for instance. I took a tour about 3 years ago at the Tesla factory in Fremont. It's fast, just robot arms everywhere, huge and small. It was amazing, and there weren't very many people out there on the floor for that reason. Things are, and you have to believe that mistakes get made. And so the control engineers, what they care about first and foremost, has been true for a long time, is safety, right? Safety of the human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. OEE is secondary to
Yeah,
safety.
you're right. Yes.
So, in terms of the customers that you're dealing with, um, do you find that where do they sit in terms of digital maturity before they start using FlowFuse? Like I always use the same. One is Excel email, and five is like an agentic adaptive factory. Where do they sit before FlowFuse and Dados? And where do you think that they can eventually end up when they're using your software?
Yeah. So I think 5 is a really high bar you just set. So
Yeah.
fully
I don't think anybody's at five. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody's
so
at
no one's going to
four.
get there. My background is in IT, and the first customer we landed was super mature already in digitalization, and everything was connected, about 99% of their assets. And for a while, I was like, oh, this is everyone in manufacturing. Now I know that, like, when people start to adopt our software, open source or otherwise, they're generally at like a 1, and they are maturing really quickly. But within a couple of years, especially because all the other people already paid for the R&D, there is enough published about how you get more mature really rapidly.
Mhm.
I suspect that most people will be a 3 within 2 or 3 years of adopting FlowFuse. The 5 and the fully agentic, I don't think anyone even currently has the ambition to be fully agentic,
Right.
because agents are not predictable right now. Fully automated and robotic, I think, is a much more obtainable goal and something people actually aspire to. There's a lot of jobs where humans are still required to actually be the operator. But I do think in the next decade, most of those jobs will go away until it's only highly skilled or highly motor skills are required, or a
Yeah.
combination of actions that is really hard to automate.
So just because of the category that we're in, uh, you don't actually want to talk to us until you have your devices connected,
Right.
or at least most of them connected.
So everybody's
And
at a 2 already, or something.
pardon me?
Like so everybody's at a 2.
1.5.
1.5.
They, the they're collecting everything. They're just not utilizing it yet.
Yeah.
Is the way I would put it. But you do see we've had a lot of conversations here and before here, where people they have an active project, they have a timeline, they want to get something in place to prove to themselves and their organization that this can have a payoff. So the whole industry is gearing up, and I agree with him. I think there'll be about a 3. It'll be a long time before we see a 5.
Well, I'd like to think that using startups as opposed to the bigger companies, you have a better chance of getting there faster.
Well, I of course agree with that.
Yeah, although like you're never fired for IBM also applies for manufacturing. Like a lot of Siemens and Rockwell, for example, is still bought, and there's a lot of purchases where you don't want to be where you want to be risk averse, right?
Right.
The more experience we have, we are around now for 5 years. The more trust you get from the environment, because you also have the cases to back up what you're doing. I do expect the risk of buying FlowFuse is less and less. So probably the same with your company because
So
you have
actually,
more
our
cases
our launch day was yesterday.
Oh, okay, cool. All right,
So
but
now it's
either way,
this-
like the risk is gonna decrease.
I've done a
over
lot
time.
of startups before, but yeah. So now, why do we have a chance? We have a chance because we're unique right now.
Yeah.
We won't be unique a year from now. I think the reason that this ultra low latency, high speed stuff hasn't been true is because people didn't think it was possible. We didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
we just did it.
Awesome.
There might be a market for you in financial trading.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
That's been a really awesome conversation. I really appreciate meeting both of you, CJ.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Ken.
Nice to meet you.
It's really cool.
Thanks.
I'll call you the next time in Paris.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll come have some beer in Amsterdam or whatever.
Yeah, so stop by.
Or Utrecht, wherever you're.
Yeah. No, near Amsterdam. Yeah.
Okay. Love that place. Been a million times.
tourists there.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to get. I've seen Bill walking around from Machine Metrics. I'm trying to get Mid 10X, so we'll see if we get another one. Where can we find you guys after this conference? What do you guys can do this year? Can you go to another ITMC or some other conferences? Maybe Hanover
next
Messe?
up for us, yes, I was going to say that, right? The end of April, so we're definitely every year in Hanover. Then IMTS we're considering, and then you got SPS in Nuremberg.
And you're welcome to come to Threaded in Warwick on the 25th of March.
I'll definitely consider it. I'll put you in touch with our marketing people.
I don't know yet. So this is our first conference. In addition to being launch day, this is our first conference. So the product, we've been working on it total of 3 years.
Wow.
In this segment for 1. And we're going to have to find our way a little bit. He's way ahead of me.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
We'll try to be back in a minute.